welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me, as always, is new Michael, Kevin, Jank.
Jank is here. Jank talks about himself in the third person.
So it is the star of this week's comic book. Why don't you tell the kids what we're reading, Jank?
So this week we're going to be reading Cerebus number 57 from, I don't remember what year, 1982 or 3?
1983.
Yeah,
and this is my first experience with Cerebus. I was aware of him all the time, you know, growing up. And I would see him in the comic book shops when I was a kid and stuff, but I had never read any of them. And I have no real concept of him or what he is or even his creator, which I learned some interesting things about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Turns out maybe not the best fellow.
No, maybe not. So... but yeah, so today we'll talk about Cerebus, probably the greatest self-published comic ever, probably, when you consider the scope of it and the length and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think Savage Dragon and Spawn are kind of getting close to it.
But they're not self-published.
Yeah. I mean, they go through Image and stuff. Savage Dragon probably more so than Spawn, because I think Todd's probably taking breaks. I don't know if he did all of it. He's definitely not doing the art anymore. But Eric Larson, I think, has still pretty much been on Savage Dragon the whole time.
So, all right, before we get started there, let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 219 subscribers. That's up 5 from last week. So, what a week.
219.
Yeah, that's right, 219. And apparently, Jank has promised if we get to 500... we'll do a Dark Knight month, right?
Dark Knight Returns month, yep. Mike Dell here has never read it, which is really just a crime against humanity.
And luckily for me, we will never get to 500 subscribers, so I won't have to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be nice.
You sleep well at night, I'm sure.
Yes.
It'll never happen.
I'm not worried about it. So, all right, Cerebus. And this little fella, he was created by Canadian cartoonist Dave Sim, who was born in 1956. The series ran for 300 issues from 1977 until March of 2004. And Cerebus is an aardvark.
Yeah.
Sure is. Now, the character was originally created as the mascot for Sim's then-girlfriend Denny Lubert's fanzine, Cerebus.
Just like the Tick.
Yeah, that's right.
Money-making ideas coming out of fanzine icon.
But I don't think this fanzine ever actually came out, and she actually meant to call it Cerberus, the three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell and whatnot, but she spelled it wrong. So it just
I was wondering about that because, yeah, like it blows more off the tongue. You want to say Cerberus. I have to think every time, like, oh, Cerebus. Okay.
Yep.
I have to really put thought into saying it.
So they just, once they found, it's spelled wrong, they just, I like Cerebus better. So they just went with Cerebus.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to worry about the Greeks coming back at us for copyright infringement.
And the fanzine never came out, but Lubert published Sim's character, Cerebus, in his own book. And because they were a couple there, and they published comic books together. And the series started out as a parody of Conan the Barbarian and sword and sorcery stories, but it evolved over the years to explore politics, religion, philosophy, and gender issues, and all sorts of other serious topics. So, it started out as
you'd expect them. Aardvark barbarian.
Yeah, goofy little talking barbarian aardvark guy. And now we're doing philosophy and the meaning of life and everything by the end of it. So what caused that change, do you think, in the direction of the series? Well, if you said a massive LSD trip, you were right, because that's what happened. In 1979, Sim was hospitalized due to frequent LSD use. Now, apparently what happened was he decided he would use LSD like every day for a week or something. And he just kept...
Solid strategy.
By the end of it, he kind of went a little loopy there. So his wife and his mom, various stories exist of what happened, but according to Sim, that his wife and his mom, they committed him to a mental hospital there to recover a little bit, and then he was there for a few days, and then he just left on his own when he found he could, and but that experience changed a lot about him, and who knows how it affected him all these years later too.
Yeah.
But it made him rethink what he was doing in comics, and he decided that he wanted the book now, it would just be about life, and Cerebus would age, he'd have relationships, suffer personal setbacks and losses, and ultimately die in the final issue. And even back in 1979, I think he originally told people he wanted to do it for 156 issues, and then he quickly changed that, and he said, no, I want to do it for 300 issues, and it will end in March of 2004.
Wow.
And that's exactly what happened.
He called his shot, yep.
So, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
And
I think early on there was a story, I don't know how early on, but there was a story where like Cerebus met somebody, like some kind of guy up in space who told him that he was going to die like alone and unloved in issue. I don't know if he said in issue 300, but basically that was the inference, was this is coming. And he actually stuck to that. And I guess that's how the series ended.
Yeah, he told him he would die alone, unmourned, and unloved. And that's exactly how Cerebus died. And
that's great.
Because Cerebus, even though, he's a talking aardvark, he's probably a cute little fellow. No, he's a jerk, the Cerebus.
Yeah.
He's kind of, yeah. He's really selfish, self-defeating, and kind of like a jerk. That's what he is.
That's the best word to describe it, yeah. Apparently he doesn't know a good thing when he sees it either.
Hell yeah. So over the course of the series, Cerebus would become a prime minister, the pope, and a bartender. So those are three things he became. Yeah.
Seems like the last one's kind of a downgrade, but all right.
Sim self-published Cerebus under the Aardvark Vanheim brand with Flaubert, and they got married in 1978, and they divorced in, I believe, 1983, and they went their separate ways. And at the end of last week's episode, I think I mentioned how I remember hearing the background of Aardvark Vanheim, and I couldn't remember what issue we did, and then we found out right after we got off the air. It was Normal Man is the book we did. Aardvark Vanheim.
Yeah, there was a Normal Man backup in this issue that I didn't read.
I didn't read it either.
Yeah, good.
Normal Man's fine and all, but I just don't want to read it. So.
Yeah. Like it's 4 pages. Who cares?
There's a Flea Market Fantasy episode on Normal Man. You can search for it. I think that was under the old management, right? That was you weren't here for that.
That was here for that. No.
But it's just a normal guy on a planet of superheroes. He's Normal Man.
Yeah.
Kind
it
of
seems all these parodies of kind of real superheroes, like Fantastic Four, seem to be who they were parodying in this one.
Yep. So, they were self-publishing Cerebus there, and Sim's success as a self-publisher led to DC wanting to buy the book. Negotiations ran from 1985 to 1988. DC reportedly offered $100,000 and 10% of licensing and merchandising. Sim rejected it. The big turning point for Sim was packaging the High Society storyline, which ran from issues 26 to 50 and saw Cerebus become prime minister of a medieval city-state. He put that all into like a graphic novel, a giant-sized trade paperback. And this is before anyone was doing that. And he sold it directly via mail order. So this kind of pissed off all the little comic book shops who had been supporting him, because they're like, hey, why aren't we getting a taste of this? But he said, no. So he just took the orders directly and shipped out. This was like a massive book. And he charged $25 a pop for it. And he sold out the 6,000 copies he had. So he got a quick $150,000. And that was big money. This is back in I don't know what year this was, 82, 83 or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So this, that changed everything for him. And it also really inspired other companies to look into trade paperbacks. I think DC was next then with some Batman stuff or something. I don't know if I'm remembering properly. But so, he kind of inspired that whole trend. Wow, and Sim did a lot of superhero.
That was an idea that nobody had thought of. Like, hey, what if we actually sell these in bigger books? Like,
yeah, well, you got to think early '80s. No one's or you think people would really be willing to spend $25 on a collection? Like, back
Yeah.
then, dicey. 75 cents for books, right? Most parts, I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess when you're self-publishing, it would cost a lot more than if Marvel decided to do it. I'm sure they could sell them for a lot cheaper.
And you also got to think, like, at that time, it was still really a kids-driven industry for the most part in the early 80s. It wasn't until, like, that filthy Dark Knight and all that crap came in, and then it got all adult and prestige and all that. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Sim did a lot of superhero parodies in his books, and issues 54 through 56 featured a Wolverine parody that angered Marvel, who threatened legal action. And
I saw that. I almost picked one of those, but
yeah,
seems like they're just doing Wolverine again. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'll pick something that more.
I don't have a full grasp of it, but I guess there's one character in the Cerebus run here. I think his name is Roach or something like that.
Yeah, Roach, I think.
Yeah, and he would just parody different superheroes all the time. Like once he was Moon Knight, Captain America, and this time he was Wolverine. And Sim put basically Wolverine on the cover of his book, like 3 straight.
Yeah.
So I can understand why Marvel was mad because it's. So, and I think at the time he said, yeah, he understands it too. So he stopped doing it. But he believes that Marvel creating Peter Porker the Spectacular Spider-Ham was a shot back at him for what they. So I never considered this, but he says that they were mad at him for the Wolverine thing, so they just put Cerebus in a Spidey outfit and said, boom, here you go, buddy.
That makes sense. I did see that Jim Shooter actually like retroactively gave him some kind of a license, like sold him some kind of a license so that he was, free from, being actually prosecuted for the Wolverine thing. But he did agree to stop doing it after that.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. But yeah, he just said, yeah, I won't do it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But, I might as well say this now, but Sim was a huge supporter of creator rights, obviously. And he was one of the people that wrote that first creator Bill of Rights and everything with Laird and Eastman from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And you mentioned Spawn earlier. He did a issue of Spawn. Todd McFarlane brought him in to write an issue, and he got paid like $100,000, and he donated it all to independent creators or something. So he's a big guy for supporter rights. And he always said that if anyone wants to do anything with Cerebus, feel free, because so I don't know, whatever. At least in terms of like parodying it, stuff like that.
Yeah. Like I can't write my own Cerebus comic book right now.
You probably shouldn't do that. But if you wanted to put Cerebus in your book, feel free, I think.
Oh, nice.
So, with issue 65, a fellow Canadian artist named Gerhard, just one name, like Cher, he joined the book and he did all the background art for each issue. And that kind of like really elevated the art. We're missing out on that here. So,
yeah. Just got a room here.
Yeah. But it was just the way he said, you draw all the tables and chairs and I'll focus on Cerebus and the characters. And that's the way it worked. So issue 100 of Cerebus sold.
I know you would sign up. You would probably hire this Gerhard guy to do all the backgrounds.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I don't want to draw comics. It's just so much work in the backgrounds. Good Lord.
Yeah.
I just want to do it. So issue 100 of Cerebus sold 36,000 copies. So that was like the high water mark for Cerebus. But the numbers went down from there. And Sim blamed the decline on readers being unable to jump right into the story with any single issue, because you kind of had to read the whole run to understand what was going on.
Yep, that's fair.
And
but they put them out, like, I think every 25 issues there was another volume of that trade paperback collection, right? So you did have those, so I guess that's something.
But the longer the series went, the more serious, experimental, and self-indulgent it became. So the book basically just became a way for Sim to voice his personal and often misogynistic views, and it started to alienate readers.
Yeah, you start getting too political in any direction, and I think you're going to start losing people.
Like, there would be issues that were just mostly text.
Yeah.
Just one or two pictures. And, like, Cerebus wouldn't even be in some issues. Like, I guess he did a storyline that focused on the final days of Oscar Wilde.
And then, and Cerebus doesn't appear to, like, the last page or something. It's like, wow. Weird.
So you can understand why the sales are slipping.
Yeah, you're kind of losing threaded for the narrative here. You're just writing about other random things.
So, like we mentioned, issue 100 had 36,000 copies. By the end, Cerebus was publishing about 3,000 issues a month.
Oh
So
no.
it's quite the drop.
Well, at least he was
Um,
able to finish it, even if the readership wasn't quite there as much anymore.
Now, this is definitely something that will, yeah, we mentioned his misogynistic views. Some of that I think could be just misinterpretations of the work, but then you read he's done interviews where he says, yeah, men are just better than women. So it's like, all right, well, yes.
Yeah, I think I saw something that like in some of the issues, I don't know if it was in the letter pages or in the actual book itself, there were actually just like diatribes from him himself, like not from a
Yeah.
character, like him just writing things and they were pretty bad, it sounds like, so.
Yeah, I found some Cerebus, like some blog dedicated to Cerebus, some fan created, and Sim will get in there and he'll post comments in the comment sections, and they're very long and rambling. They're very honest, and like he'll just say what's ever on his mind. Because there's one story in particular we might as well talk about right now. Apparently, he was grooming a 13-year-old girl for many years, and then he had sex with her when she was 20. And
Oh,
and he says, yeah, he never had sex with her until she was 20. But she was a big Cerebus fan, and she came to a convention, and she asked him to sign all his stuff, and he just said he fell in love with her as soon as he saw her. And this is a
oh
man in
no.
his 30s. And like, yeah, he's talking about this. Like, this isn't like he's admitting this, and he's just stating it cold, hard fact. He said, I
Yeah.
thought she was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I loved her. And, yeah, it's very weird. And
Yeah. That's not good.
so, I mean, I don't know if I guess you could believe him that they never did anything, but still, it's wrong. I mean, he says, I know it was wrong. I shouldn't have had any relationship with her, but, it didn't turn sexual until she was 20. But, so I don't know, but that's just weird, man. I
Yeah.
don't
That's not
know.
ideal. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can understand why, Cerebus isn't
Yeah,
as,
readership kind of dropped
yeah.
off and it's not as highly regarded as it would have been in like the 80s.
Cause I'll tell you this, I didn't know this. I didn't hear that story in particular until I was done reading the issue.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert, I love the issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured you would.
I will never read any more Cerebus. So,
Yeah, that really puts some taint on it for sure.
but it is kind of weird because, like Cerebus and an art imitating life and all that, he, like you mentioned, he's told you're going to die alone, unmourned, and unloved. That's how the character dies, and that's pretty much how the book died too, because no one really thinks of it as highly anymore because of what Sim's life was.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
so it's kind of very similar there. So, anything else about Cerebus you would like to mention, Jack?
I think even after the series ended though, didn't Sim come back and do like another series called like Cerebus in Hell or something like that, where it's just kind of like what happens after he dies, essentially.
Yeah, because like the ending of issue 300, he had a son and with the lady, and the lady was really strong feminist, and like the son was following her. So Cerebus, he's an old aardvark now, and he's in his bed, and he gets mad at his son, and he wants to kill his son. So he gets
Uh-oh.
out of bed and he gets his barbarian sword there to go kill his son, but he trips and falls and breaks his neck, and he dies. He dies alone, unloved, and unmourned. And then he thinks he's being pulled into heaven there, or at least he sees a light, and he starts seeing some people he recognizes. But then he realizes, oh, his one buddy, who is a really good guy, isn't there.
Uh-oh.
And he's like, oh, shoot. And he gets dragged off into hell. So that's how the book ends. So. But yeah, he did do something like service. I don't know how long that lasted. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know either.
But so yeah, if you want to read Cerebus, maybe just forget who wrote it and drew it.
Yeah.
Just check
Yeah,
it out.
don't look into things. Yeah. The
And
more you learn, the worse it'll get.
it also sounds like really through issue 100, it's top notch, and then after that, it kind of
Yeah,
gets
from what I was
really
hearing,
interesting.
yeah, like maybe the 200s or like the 100s, like were okay, and then like by the time it gets to like 200, the last third of the series is just kind of, weird, and probably should be avoided.
It's a hell of an achievement, though. You think putting out a monthly comic for 300 straight issues, like that's impressive.
Yeah.
So
That's the kind of like long form storytelling I really, really like. Robert Kirkman was able to do that. Maybe not quite as many issues, but like Invincible and Walking Dead were a lot like that. So I really appreciate stuff like that.
All right, well, let's look at the book now, Jack. Why don't you describe the cover for the people?
Okay, it's a strange cover. We got the little Aardvark Vanheim presents up in the top there. Then this is Cerebus. And, kind of these weird, funky looking letters. I guess they're kind of old timey a little bit. They get kind of skinny and fat. And then most of it's kind of this, I don't know what you would call that background, like, lattice work.
Yeah,
Kind
I
of a
don't
lattice
know
work
how to best
background.
describe it either. I think yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll go with that. It's not lattice work, but it's close.
Something like that. It looks, like something you'd find in some old timey wallpaper or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Or like one of the walls in Doom, maybe. And then in the middle, there's like a square, and this is kind of where the actual cover, image is. And,
Oh,
it's a
probably a rectangle.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
Hate to get all geometry on you, but yeah, I think it's...
Yep, those sides are definitely longer on the side than on the top. So, yep, you're right. Rectangle it is. At the top there it says suddenly, and then we got a shot of just like a brown room, and there's Cerebus looking all stunned, and he's got this old guy in like one of those old timey wigs, like the judge wigs, and
George Washington. Yeah, kind of.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Yep. And he's looking all prim and proper. He's like kind of, giving him kind of the nod. And then in the foreground there, we got just a lady's hand with a wedding ring on it.
Yeah, just like the silhouette of black hand with a gold ring.
Yeah.
And I like Cerebus here. He reminds me very much of Alf in that picture.
Yeah. Similar facial nose features. Yeah.
Very Alfish there. So, I love him. But yeah, they were doing, hey, if you go to the Flea Market Fantasy YouTube channel, by the time this episode's up, there will also be a video, top 11 Cerebus covers that you can check out. But he was doing a bunch of different like styles and takes on covers. So this is just one of the like the whole lattice work thing.
I saw some later ones where it was just kind of like scenery, like it looked almost like photorealistic shots of the forest or something like that.
He was doing some weird stuff. So
yeah.
Check it out there. But yeah, it's an okay cover, I guess. I mean, Cerebus is very tiny. He's very tiny when the scope of the cover. But yeah.
Yeah, the cover doesn't totally sell it, I guess. It's maybe not the most exciting of covers, but it's interesting.
So we open up the book and we get a note from the publisher, and this is Denny Lubert, his ex-wife. Well, I think they're still married at this point.
Yeah, could be.
She was doing something, and then on the first page we get this is great. The first page here we get 4 panels, Port Separania, and we see like a establishing shot of a city. Then the next panel down, the Weinman Hotel, we get an establishing shot outside the hotel. Then the next one, room 201, and we see Cerebus under the covers, and he looks kind of drunk and sick or whatever. And then the fourth panel, we see a bunch of little Cerebus heads doing like a sequence of him kind of slowly waking up, and then he looks down and his eyes get real big. And the next page, it says, suddenly Sophia. And we see Cerebus standing there, Jank. And what's he holding there?
Well, he's wearing a bra. Very metal bra.
Yes. He's looking down. He's like, what the what?
When did this happen?
And then he turns around and he sees, oh, there's a foxy lady in my bed.
Yeah.
So he's wearing her. Now, this lady's name is Sophia. She's the Sophia in Suddenly Sophia. And in the series, this is Red Sophia, and she was a parody of Red Sonja.
Yeah, which makes sense if he's a parody of Conan the Barbarian.
So that's why he has the chainmail kind of bra, because she was wearing it. And if you notice in the upcoming panels, she's wearing his little traditional black little vest that he would wear.
Yeah, I like that. That was good.
So, swap their clothes there. And so, they've obviously had a night of drunken mischief together, you know?
Yeah.
And he's not happy about it. He feels sick. He's just, oh, what the
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, is there
Yeah.
something we're missing here? Like,
Well, there's probably something about this, maybe their history together that he doesn't like Red Sophia or something. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know anything, but
yeah. Judging by what we're seeing here, she seems like a goer.
again, this whole thing reminded me very much of Howard the Duck and like
Yeah, could see that.
and Bev, you know, because it's a similar
Yep.
thing. But even the writing just reminded me a lot of Gerber, Howard the Duck. But
Yeah, I
so
can see that.
she's waking up and she's like, she talks a little weird. She'll like emphasize just one syllable of a word. It'll be big caps and underlined. But
Yeah.
she's just like, I've never seen anyone drink 12 gallons of gin and whiskey mixed with goat's milk. And then we see him just.
He didn't know you back in the day, apparently.
Yeah.
That was your go-to.
At least 1/3 of that concoction, the gin was. And he's just like, oh no, and he just feels terrible, you know. And she's like, mind you, somebody should bottle it as a virility drug. And he's like, stop,
Yeah.
please, no more. And then we get a great shot of her from behind there. The cover's barely covering her. And we see a knock at the door. And who's at the door, Jack?
Mr. Weishaupt.
Weishaupt. Yeah.
Yeah.
and Sim named him after, I believe it's Adam Weishaupt, right? The guy who started the Illuminati, the original Illuminati.
Oh, okay.
Conspiracy fella. You know, I know my stuff.
Yeah.
And but he drew him kind of looking like George Washington, but yeah. So, but this guy is apparently like the political. I want to say advisor, but he's like the manipulator of Cerebus. He's the guy who had him become prime minister, I think, during the High Society run.
It's kind of, I don't know, like Jeffrey Epstein-ish maybe a little bit. Wait till somebody gets popular, then you lure him in with a honeypot, get some dirt on him. And,
yeah, he rigged him up here because he wants Cerebus to come back and be prime minister. Cerebus doesn't want to be prime minister anymore. So he set him up here in a little sting operation, it seems. But he's like, morning, children. Are you decent? And he's talking in Cerebus. Yeah, terrible. Cerebus is. That's how Cerebus talks. He does talk in the third person.
like Yoda.
Yeah. And then he looks over and he sees, she's got a wedding ring on, because that Weishaupt says, and how are the newlyweds this morning? He's like, wait, what? Newlyweds? She shows him the ring.
Can't be true.
He's cowering against the door. And then Weishaupt asks her, she goes, I trust the marriage has been legitimized. And she says, huh? Oh, that, at least 12 times.
Wow. Just Cerebus.
She lost counter on Dawn, and she just passes out on the pillow there. And he says, goodness, we are full of surprises, aren't we? And Cerebus is just very sick, and he goes over and pukes in a sink. And so...
Good drawings of Cerebus here.
He's not real happy. And Cerebus says, hey, I get drunk a lot, but I wouldn't get that drunk to marry somebody. So he's like, you had to drug me. You drugged me. You're like the old Bill Cosby. You drugged me. He's like, I put the pills in the people. Yeah, Weishaupt. He the pills in the aardvark. But Weishaupt says, yeah, maybe I drugged you. So what? What are you going to do about it? And because I guess where they're at in this political climate they're in, I guess a religious sect really took over or something, and so like divorce is illegal now. You can't get and if you divorce someone, they can kill you. So he's like, yeah, you're married now, buddy.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do?
He's like, there is one way I can give you a divorce. But you have to appeal to, a certain branch of the government. And Cerberus is like, oh, let me guess, you. He's like, yeah.
That's right. And so they're just chatting it up there, and we see Sophia getting dressed again. She's trying to pull on her underpants. Having a tough time getting them over. But,
a lot of booty to climb over. Yep.
So, yeah, you have to appeal to the executive branch, and that's Weishaupt. And he says more specifically the office of the president. And he says, Mr. President, that's you. So why does he want him to be prime minister again? I read this last week.
Basically he wants, Cerberus to be under his thumb. He's going to tell him what to do. And well, first you return to the executive mansion in Iast. His Holiness was quite adamant that the new prime minister be a family man. Cerberus is like, Cerberus doesn't want to be prime minister. It would be strictly temporary. You'd make a few speeches denouncing all this Republican foolishness, sign a few edicts in favor of good orthodox termite thinking, nothing too strenuous. And and then he's like, okay, Cerberus doesn't want anything to do with it. So he's like, oh, well, I'll show you your honeymoon cottage then. And Cerberus just looks upset. So he kind of starts giving in. He's like, oh, how temporary is this going to be before I can get this divorce? And he's like, well, stupid ads.
Says a few weeks, maybe more.
Yeah.
Perhaps
how long it takes to undo your image as a champion of the peasants and livestock. And then you'll start your second career, where apparently he wants Cerebus to write books for him. And Cerebus is like, oh, like my life story, that book I've been working on? He's like, no, not that. And now you're talking monkey detective book. Not that one either. We want you to write trashy romance novels that'll keep the ladies in line.
Yeah, because they want to undermine the feminist movement. They want to keep the ladies where they're at in society. So,
it's like, here, I've begun issuing these tracts to help them get back to good traditional female values.
And he shows him one of the books. And
stories are all the same. Independent woman meets man. Either she gives up everything for him and it ends happily, or she stays independent and goes blind. Or dies of consumption.
Or cuts her throat with a cheese slicer.
Yeah.
And, well, that's being said, we see Sophia on the bed, like, looking at herself in the mirror, putting on her makeup, and she says, oh, I read that one. And, so she's already
really identified with her, especially when she uses the dozen roses he sends her to flog herself.
And then Cerebus is reading them, and he's, like, quoting some of the lines, and they're really terrible. And, Weishaupt says, you see, it's not that I'm asking you to write great literature or anything.
Yeah, this is smut here. That's all we need.
Why do you want Cerebus to write this junk at all? So, yeah, it's just trying to shape society, and all that.
Yeah.
And
just use the fact that people like Cerebus to, pass through these things that are not going to be very popular.
And then so Weishaupt reads him a little passage. He says, here's an example of what we're after. You're just like Lord Janius, cried Estonia. You only want me to cook and clean for you. I'm an independent woman. Then the handsome and wealthy and well-respected prime minister said, sadly, you will have to be independent without I. And Cerebus says, shouldn't it be me? And we just hear,
she's heard this passage and she is moved to tears.
Yeah.
She just starts sobbing right there in the bed.
So Weishaupt says, I don't think it really matters. And Cerebus says, yeah, apparently not. So, yeah, this Weishaupt guy, he just wants to control Cerebus and use him for his political, motives. And then he says, oh, there'll be a sequel.
The prime minister and the hussy.
And then there'll be a sequel, Cerebus and Sophia, a tale of the selfless love that saved a city-state. So Sophia's all in on this. And, yeah. Cerebus isn't happy,
Nope. He's pretty much realizing he doesn't have a choice, but
and Weishaupt says, so you'll cooperate? And Cerebus doesn't have much choice, does he? And Weishaupt says, you acquiesce ignobly. I admire that in an underling up to a point. So
yeah. He ushers in a bunch of other stuffy looking Monopoly guys.
And this page is great. 3 panels. The top one shows the guys marching in, and Cerebus standing there looking at the camera in his little metal bra. And then the middle panel, we just see the guys huddling around him. We get some sound effects: snip, snip, tuck, tuck, tug. And then the third panel, they're leaving the room, and Cerebus is still in the same position, but now he's looking at the camera, and he looks like a little George Washington guy. He's like a little, little politician.
A little bit. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty great. And
Sophia loves him. She's like, "Oh, you're so handsome now."
so then one of the tailor guys, they still have the metal bra, and they're like, should we give her a new wardrobe? And Weishoff's like, nah, she's good with this. You don't. What does he say? You don't want to cover up your political assets.
Yeah, one of the first rules of public office is never conceal your political assets.
So we see her getting in her metal bikini there, and Cerebus says Cerebus feels like a lawn ornament. So then they're going down and they get the president's carriage, and they're going to go back to the town there. But when Cerebus is walking down the steps with his new wife, Jank, what happens to him?
Oh, well, he gets smacked right in the head with a cane, and someone's yelling, "Cradle robber!" And he's like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And it turns out, it's the mother-in-law. Sophia's mother is coming along with them in the carriage.
Yeah.
She's not happy.
And she's a very large, unattractive lady. And
Yeah.
he's just beating the hell out of him with a stick. I guess an umbrella. And she'll be traveling with us to Iced. I guess that's the name of the city they're going to. Iest, Iced. And we just see Cerebus say, "Swell." And next issue, return to Iced. And that's it. We're done.
Yep. It went by quick.
Yeah, it's short. And I don't know the exact page number on that, because I don't think the pages are numbered. But it was quick. And then the rest of the book is mostly ads for Cerebus things that you can buy.
Plushies and all kinds of stuff.
Posters, artwork. $100 per page.
Infinite merchandise for an independent company.
Yeah.
Like a playing card, looks like.
Yeah, original artwork, $50 per page, or some are $100 per page. Holy hell. This was 1983. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the merchandising train early.
And then we get a, like you said, a 4-issue Normal Man story. Or 4-page Normal Man story. And yeah, I did not read it. But it involves like the Fantastic Four.
And some guy who's like sleeping. I don't know.
That's Normal Man. He's the sleeping guy.
Oh, that's him?
Yep. The guy with the crew cut and glasses. Yep. That's Normal Man. And then just more ads for things. There's a letters page.
Yeah. But, something called Petunia Con, a celebration of Cerebus and comics. They have their own convention apparently going on in
Petunia Con.
Yeah. Oakland, California, at the Hyatt Oakland Hotel.
Wow. Because they were located in Ontario.
Yeah.
So
Kitchener, I think, right?
Yep, I believe so. And just more stuff, more original artwork
by Dave Sim.
Man, they were selling a lot of stuff. So there it is. That's Cerebus. I got to tell you, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It's.
I figured it would speak to the conspiracy theorist in you for sure.
But the writing was exceptional, and like I said, it reminded me very much of Steve Gerber and Howard the Duck. And like when I think of the best written issues we've encountered, I've been doing this show for 5 years. Steve Gerber, Howard the Duck is still number one in my mind, but this is right there. And the artwork was good for what it was. It was told a good story. Cerebus was very expressive in his faces and everything. So.
Yeah, like we would puke. It looked really cool.
I loved every second of this. This is awesome. And if I didn't learn what I learned about Dave Sim, I'd be reading a ton of Cerebus right now. But I really just don't care anymore.
Yeah, that really, really puts a damper on things. Because, I'm with you. I really enjoyed this. It was just kind of like a Three's Company kind of bedroom farce for the most part. But it was very entertaining. It kept my interest the whole time. So I definitely would have been more intrigued to read more of Cerebus. But, yeah, I guess even though we're reading this for free, I don't know if I want to support Dave Simmons that much.
Yeah, it stinks. Feel bad, but what can you do?
Yeah. I guess in some ways art was better when we didn't know as much about the people making it.
Life was better when we didn't know much about the people making it.
Yeah.
Wait till you hear about the government. Holy hell. So, I don't know what to do. I guess it's a little short. I feel weird giving it a 10 when it's so short. Maybe a 9 out of 10.
Didn't count the pages, but I'm going to guess it's about the same number of pages. It's just there's a lot of black space and I don't know.
I don't think was it really 22 pages? You think? I think probably like 16 tops. All right, we got to count. There's a lot of black space on the page. It's weird. Yeah, you know what? It is pretty much that length. Huh?
Yeah.
How about that?
That's fair.
So you know what? 10 out of 10.
Plus that exciting normal man backup story. So
yeah, I just assumed because they put the backup story in there, short. But yeah, it feels very short. But
I think it's just because it was kind of a lot of dialogue, but not even that much dialogue. Like I don't know, it all kind of flowed really well. It didn't feel like it was overwritten. Like there's just a lot of like a Chris Claremont comic where there's so much narration that you're like, boy.
It was very well written. It was just crisp and tight, and nothing unnecessary was there. It was really well done. So yeah, I mean, there's 10 out of 10 then. What the hell? It's great.
Yeah, honestly, I can't really argue with that. The art I really liked. It's very simple, but it works for this kind of cartoony world, and even the humans look good. Like Sophia looked awesome. That Whitehouse or whatever his name is, his face is very expressive. Yeah. So I don't know. I liked it.
And again, he did remind me of Alf a lot. So
yeah,
you always get a bonus point if you remind me of Alf. So
that's all you're looking for in life.
All right. Well, yeah, it was a quick one, but
I enjoyed it.
So you going 10 too?
Yep. I'll also go 10. Had a good time.
Is that the only time we've ever both given 10 to something?
I don't know. Maybe Wolverine #1?
Yeah, that Wolverine limited series issue 1.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, next week on the big show, we're going to do a hero who we've been doing the show for almost 5 years. And we've done one book about this guy, but it really wasn't an official book from the series. So it's kind of surprising that we've never done one yet. So next week, The Flash.
Oh.
Issue 286 from 1980. And we did like a giant size Flash or something with Miguel.
Yeah, with Gorilla Grodd.
That's right, Gorilla Grodd. But this will be the first actual Flash issue from the series we've done. And I had this when I was a kid.
Oh,
I was like flipping through some Flash covers until I recognized one. I was like, oh, I got that one. So we're going to, I think he fights a guy called the Rainbow Warrior, I think.
Okay.
It's a very colorful book. So this guy's got special glasses. He can like shoot rainbows out his eyes or something. I don't know. It's pretty great.
Yikes. Okay.
So that'll be next week. The Flash.
That'll be something. Oh man.
All right. So that's it for this week on the Flea Market Fantasy. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.